So in this video, I'm going to be discussing prophecy and personal revelations. Prophecy is often brought up in debates by theists as proof that their God exists. Prophecy usually taking the form of this person had knowledge of future events, or this person had knowledge of science that's well beyond the science of the day, some kind of special knowledge. And I'm just going to refer to it all as special knowledge in this video. And the atheists usually will respond by saying, no, you didn't have the special knowledge. Now, this can work for a specific claim or a specific religion, but doesn't globally answer the question. It doesn't deal with, for example, let's say we had a religion that did have the special knowledge and it was absolutely sure that that knowledge was the goods, that it was really there. So to deal with this, what you should do is you should try to make a formal argument linking special knowledge to saying a God exists. And the argument would take the following form. It is possible for people to have special knowledge if and only if a God exists. That means that if a God exists, it's possible for people to have special knowledge. And if people have special knowledge, it necessarily follows that a God exists. Premise 2, people have special knowledge or have had special knowledge, and you should grant this. Conclusion, a God exists. The problem is, even though this is a valid argument, premise 1 is not justified. To justify premise 1, you need to demonstrate that a God is both necessary and sufficient for people to have special knowledge. Necessary would mean that there's no other way for them to have this special knowledge. In the case of science, you've just ruled out evolution on other planets and explorers coming here and sharing knowledge about science with the people on Earth. And I don't see how you can rule that out. In the case of future events, you've ruled out, first of all, the person getting lucky and guessing. You've ruled out the person having psychic abilities. And if we're talking about supernatural things as, something to really include in our logic, I feel no problem with including somebody having psychic powers. You've ruled out Matt Dillahunty's favorite example of future predicting pixies. He loves bringing up pixies for all sorts of things where they fit just as well as a god. You've ruled out the Doctor from Doctor Who coming around in his TARDIS and showing you the future, taking you and having you explore with him. So you really haven't established necessity. You definitely aren't going to establish it with the science explorers, but you have to rule out everything else before you can make the claim that special knowledge demonstrates that a God exists. You can't get there until you can prove to me pixies aren't real, time travelers aren't real, space explorers didn't come around to give us this information. And I've never seen a theist come even close to demonstrating that. On the sufficiency arm, you'd need to be able to demonstrate that the God, you'd need to essentially define the God as being able to do that. So that's not really a problem. I think that it would be pretty easy to deal with the sufficiency arm. It's the necessity arm that's really the problem there, since you haven't ruled everything else out. Now on to personal revelations. Well, every religion has these. You find this with the Hindu religions, you find this with the Native American religions. So I don't see why you should think that your revelation is any different from theirs. Are you just going to say all these other people are liars? That's rather presumptuous. You're not psychic. You can't get inside their heads and be able to tell, well, the way they experienced it was something that can be explained away as a delusion, but mine can't. And I'm not trying to say that religion is a delusion disorder or any sort of mental disorder. That's rude. That's not justified, and it doesn't fit the definition of a mental disorder as described in the DSM-5. So what I'm trying to say is just, if these revelations did come from something supernatural, it seems that whatever they're coming from is essentially a trickster god, a god that's just trying to go around and mess with everybody. But you might want to come to something a little bit more reasonable. Doesn't it seem more reasonable that it's just a quirk of human psychology or the human neurochemistry, that we sometimes hear voices. I sometimes hear a voice when I'm tired. Sometimes I'll think I heard someone in the room next door, but there was actually nothing. It seems much more reasonable to explain these in that way than to try to come to the conclusion that because I had an experience that I don't necessarily know where it came from, it means a God exists. Our bodies aren't perfect. Our brains aren't perfect. We are sometimes given false information by them. It is not a good idea to think everything that you see, everything that you feel is absolutely always going to be correct. Now, if you can reproduce it, if you can show it to someone else, you've got a lot better data. But if you're just going on a one-time event that you can't demonstrate, you can't reproduce, you can't give any physical evidence that it happened, and you can't really have a necessary connection between the stimuli you think you had and a God really existing, no less your particular God, it seems much more honest and much more sensible to withhold belief. And I think that's all. Peace.